Hey everybody, this is Justin Miller and I'm back with another missionary. This is Elder Josh Ericksen, who is just returning home from his mission in South America. Josh, why don't you tell us what mission you're returning from?
So I served in the mission Santiago East, Chile Santiago East.
Chile Santiago East. All right. Now, this has been a crazy time for everybody because of the global pandemic on this virus. And so one of the things that we're hearing is these wonderful stories of how the missionaries had to get out of the countries where they were serving. Why don't you take a minute and tell us about what it was like finding out you needed to come home just a few months ahead of schedule, and also like the process of getting back to Salt Lake?
Yeah. So what happened is what happened is on Wednesday, not this last week, but a week before that, my companion actually came down with a little sore throat and a cough, and so we had to stay in our house anyways. And then the next day on Thursday, they told all the mission that everyone had to stay in their house because of the coronavirus and the effects that it was having on the city. And so then from that Thursday, we were really in the house. We could go to the church. We could go get groceries if we needed. But it was in the house mostly. But we did go to the church almost every day, and we tried to do some video lessons with some of the people we were teaching. It was a little difficult because a lot of the people we were teaching were a little bit older. Not a lot, but some of them were a little bit older and didn't know how to use the technology. So we couldn't do all the video lessons that we wanted to do, but we did do some. And then what happened is on Tuesday night, they told us, Tuesday of the next week, so that'd be this last week, they told us that we were gonna go home on Wednesday morning, that everyone had to get all their stuff ready to go home. And then later that Tuesday night, they said, oh yeah, now you're not going home on Wednesday, the flight was canceled. Now everyone's going home on Saturday. So in that time, we had already gotten the house ready, we had gotten all of our stuff ready, and we had to stay a couple more days until Friday night, when we got a call at about 9:30 in the night, and they said, now you guys are not going home on Saturday. So then we had to wait until the next Tuesday to finally get the flight and to be able to come home.
Okay, so you were quarantined about 2 weeks before you finally left, and you were telling me it was a charter flight. What was that like?
It was actually really cool because it was so in Santiago there are 4 missions, and then up north there's another, and up down to the south there's another, that are all within distance of getting to that same airport. And so it was really cool being able to talk with the other missionaries, because every mission does have something a little bit different. Obviously we're all in the same work, but there's little things that are different, talking with them how their missions were. And then in the flight with about the 220 missionaries, about when we crossed the border from Colorado to Utah, everyone started singing "Called to Serve," well, in Spanish, "Llamados a Servir." And it was actually a really cool experience being able to be on that flight, and all the flight attendants were also members from Utah, so they videoed it. And no, I don't know who has the video, but it was a really cool experience.
Well, those videos have been popping up on Facebook from airports and flights all over the world, because so your flight was chartered by the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
And was there anybody on the plane who wasn't a missionary?
I think there was one woman. While we were in line, I talked to her, and she said she lived in Mill Creek, and she was the only person that wasn't a missionary.
So they helped evacuate somebody. So the church is, charter flights for missionaries all over the world. From Philippines, it was like 6 planes all came together. But we've heard that story and seen videos of the singing on the news and on Facebook. So that's pretty cool to hear you guys did that too. What were some of the differences between your mission and the other missions that you were talking to the missionaries?
Some of the differences were the kind of areas that we had, because my mission, the East mission in Santiago, is considered the rich mission. Obviously, it's not all not all like super wealthy, but it's considered the rich mission, and there are parts that are very wealthy. So it was interesting to compare the work in those areas and the wealthy areas in comparison to the areas that were a little poorer, seeing how people did the work, and then also how we talked a lot about how people contact, how you contact a person in the street that is in the rich sector, poor sector, and there's little things that we talked about like that, and it was cool to see the differences and how everyone really brought the message in those contexts to the restoration is really what it came to.
So tell us, you're saying yours was a rich section. So tell us about how the work was in that part of Chile and in your experience.
Yeah. So what it was actually in my first sector where I was trained, it's called Puente Alto, and this sector was part of the poorer section of my mission. And so I learned how to teach and how to contact in that sector, and then I moved up to the north in a place called Peñalolén, which is close to Las Condes, and Las Condes is where all the like very very wealthy live. But it was different. You really have to know your stuff, because there's a lot of people that know the Bible, and some say they believe in the Bible, but they don't know anything about it. But others really know the Bible, and if you don't know the Bible, then you're gonna have problems talking with them.
I see. So did you find that the people in that second sector were just as receptive to your message or not?
I would say in the like first contact, maybe we did get rejected more in the rich section, but when someone said like, yes, please come teach me, in the rich section, they were a lot more reliable that they were actually going to be there when they said they were going to be there, than in that other sector in Puente Alto, the poorer sector. So it was,
okay.
I guess maybe the original feel was that you got rejected more, but really I feel like it was the same on the teaching.
Interesting. What messages did you find were the most useful, or a better way to say that is, what message resonated with the people? Did you use the Book of Mormon? Was it just about the Savior?
I would say that I feel like on almost all of our interactions with people, we tried to tie everything back to prayer while reading the scriptures and then prayer, because there's so many people. I'm sure it's the whole world. There's so many people like this, but there's so many people that believe in things, but they don't have the knowledge that they can actually receive an answer from God. And so when we tie, like maybe we start sharing with about the Book of Mormon and the Bible and how they work together, but then it always goes to that last principle of prayer and how God can answer us. And so I would say that was our main focus in every single lesson and every single contact that we had.
So teaching them how to receive their own revelation through prayer.
Exactly.
Yep, that's good. Describe what the area of Chile you were in, what was it like? Like if someone went there, was it green and trees? Was it deserty? Like what was it like?
So Santiago is a really big city with about 7 million people in it. And what all of the members told us is that Santiago used to be a really pretty city. They used to rain a lot. There used to be a lot of water. But for the past 10 years, it's been in a big drought. And now it rains about once a year, once or twice a year. And so it's now really dry. There's dust everywhere. As the mission, it was almost all in the city. There was one area in the mountains and one area out in like a farming land, but everything else was in like the downtown city. I guess not everything downtown, but suburban communities.
Oh, so it was like being in New York City on your mission, except it was Spanish.
Similar, yes. There were parts that did have all the big buildings and everything, but there were parts that were just like houses and And yeah, I guess there was everything. There was suburban, there was urban, and then there was like one area that was rural.
Cool. All right, so let's go back to talking about kind of how the work from when you first got to the mission till when you finally left yesterday. How did the work change over that time period?
Um, the work, well, the work actually changed a lot because in Santiago, in actually all of Chile, they had about, well, in October of last year, October of 2019, there were a bunch of protests that came out against the government and things that the people did not like. And for those protests, we also had to go in our houses and everything. But I would say the biggest progression in the way the work was done was that people, or the missionaries tried to always tie their message to that one point of the prayer and the reading the scriptures. And I feel like from that we were able to have more success as a mission and as zones and districts and everything that was in the mission.
How big is the church in Chile?
There are a ton of members in Chile. Chile, the country used to be its own area, but now in a lot of the wards there are a lot of less active members. In one of my wards there were about 1,800 members, and about 100 came to church every week.
Wow.
So it's like there were a lot of people that got baptized about 25 years ago, and a lot of people are inactive right now.
So did you spend a lot of time working with less actives and trying to reactivate, or how did that play a role in your mission experience?
Um, I feel like we were pretty even. Like we did visit less actives. We also visited a lot of people that wanted to get to know the church. So I feel like it was pretty even on both of those, and also with the recent converts, we met with all types of people.
Wow. And then there's a temple in Santiago.
Hmm.
And was that in your mission, or was that at the next mission over?
Yeah, that was in my mission, and it was right in the north of the mission.
So were you able to visit that temple at all while you were there?
Hmm. We could go every 2 months on our preparation day, and then also if we had a convert that was going for the first time to do baptisms or was gonna go through like a year after to do your endowment or get sealed or anything like that, we could also go with them to support them in that.
So if they were doing their own ordinances, you could go. That's cool.
Mhm.
In general, were people receptive to the message, and were there frequent baptisms in your mission, or how did that work?
Um, there, I would say there was frequent baptisms, but according to, I don't know if it's completely true or not. According to the assistants in the mission, they said that my mission was the lowest baptizing in South America. I don't know if that number is completely accurate or not,
Hmm.
but it was. I would say if you worked hard, you could get. Obviously, it depends on the person, the people that you're teaching also. But if you work hard, you can set baptismal dates. You can get people to come to church. You can teach lessons, and in the end, if they decide to get baptized, that's their decision. But I'd say if you work hard, you can help people progress.
So people were progressing and reaching the waters of baptism.
Yeah.
So, and you think back about the people that you worked with and the people that you taught. Can you think of any experiences maybe that you would call miracles that happened with any of those people that as you watch them progress on the covenant path?
Yeah, honestly there were so many miracles that I saw, miracles in like myself and also miracles in the people that I taught. One of these people that I taught, his name is Jose Luis, and Jose Luis was a he's from Venezuela, and there's a big financial crisis in Venezuela, and so he moved to Chile, and he was living with a couple other people that we were also teaching. Um, But with him, he had his he had his, I don't know how to say this, his sexual orientation, and the other, he was homosexual, to say it in a different way, and he really struggled accepting the law of chastity, that God has commanded that only men and women that are lawfully wedded to have sexual relations. But what happened with him is that really he decided that he was gonna see if this was true. He prayed, he read his scriptures, and the answer didn't come immediately. We were working with him for about 8 months while I was in that sector. And in that 8 months, he slowly just started feeling that this is what he needed to do to fix his life. And he in the end, we set a baptismal day with him in the end of my time, and he got baptized a little bit after I left. But it was honestly it was a big miracle for him and for me and my companion, because really, when I got there, I didn't think he was ever going to be able to progress in the church. And throughout all the little things that he did and that we also talked about, he was able to see the hand of God in his life, and he was able to progress and realize his spirit, his identity as a son of God.
So I know missionaries, when you get moved from area to area, you don't usually have a way to keep contact with former investigators, but do you know what happened to him over the months after you were transferred?
Yeah, and actually my mission is really small, so I could keep good contact with them. And before leaving my mission, I called all of them and got their Instagrams and Facebook so I can keep in contact with them. But what happened with him is he got baptized in October of this last year of 2019.
Okay.
And he, about a month later, he went to the temple and did baptisms for the dead. And now he's serving in his ward. He has a calling. I don't remember what his calling is, but I know he is also a ministering brother to another family there.
Cool. So he's engaged and continues to progress today.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I want to go back now to the departure. You said there was about 220 or something missionaries on that flight. How many missionaries from your mission left at that time?
There were 43 of us from my mission that left in that flight.
And were there North American missionaries that were left over, or did everybody have to leave together?
No, so there in that flight, there was about half of the North American missionaries that came. And in the flight, there was also another flight the Saturday before that they canceled for some of us, but some others had gone. So there were about half there. There's about, I think, 50 in that flight and 43 in my flight.
So how many were there missionaries left over in Santiago East when all the North Americans left?
Yeah, there's about 80 still there that are from other Latin America countries.
Wow. So about half,
Mm-hmm.
or half or so.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a little mind-boggling to think about when you got, the missionaries play a critical role around the world in the way the church operates. It depends on the maturity of the church, but to take all those missionaries away, it's like, now we'll see if they're really strong. That's
True.
tricky.
Very true.
What are some of if you think back on your 19 or 20 months in your missionary service, what are the highlights for you? Like, what comes to mind as some of your favorite things?
Really, for me, I feel like my favorite thing was the time that I had to really get to know my Savior Jesus Christ. Because before the mission, I had a testimony of him, and I had felt his presence, his help, but I really feel that the opportunity to go and to share what I did feel, to study the scriptures as much as I did, really was probably the biggest effect that the mission had on me, and the most important thing that happened in the mission. Also, I also did love learning Spanish, practicing my Spanish, because I had one American companion, and then the rest were from Latin America. So that was also super fun, getting to know Spanish, getting to know the slangs of Chile, and all the things that they say that really don't make sense if you say it in English, but it was really fun to learn that too.
Cool. Well, I think with that note of testimony, maybe we'll conclude. And I just want to say welcome home and welcome back, and wish you good luck as you do your quarantine on this side of the border.
Yeah.
And just we look forward to seeing you in the neighborhood and wave at you during the parade.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.